okay, this is about like socialism and communism, but what what happened is you got to know the history a little bit of it to know what's going on. Like Jesus Christ really existed. There's just so much history on the existence of Jesus and like all the things that took place. There's like a ton of stuff out there. We have more writings on Jesus Christ than like anybody else, any individual person, from those time periods. Like someone gave an example. They said, Plato and, these like Greek philosophers, we barely have any we don't have any actual writings, but we have like, copies of writings and stuff, but we don't doubt that these people existed, but that's just like a little example right there. It's like a lot of people in history that we accept that they existed and everything, but there's very little writings on them, surprisingly, and but with Jesus, there's more history on him than like anything else. And so he established the Catholic Church. That's what he did. And then what happened is about 1,500 years later, there was people, mainly this guy named Martin Luther in Germany. He was a German, but he didn't understand the Catholic beliefs. That's the best way I can, that's how I see it. He didn't understand the church's teaching, and then he started protesting against the church, and then he changed and made some of his own teachings. And Protestants, like these different states in Northern Europe, they kind of like went along with it because they wanted like political power and control and stuff. So like they created their own state churches. So like that's how Protestant began. Protestantism is like it began as like state churches. It wasn't like individual believers or whatever. It was state churches, state-run churches. So there you have like the state getting involved. But like over the years, there's like more and more people that split off. Like they invented the printing press, and people had access to the Bible, and they started interpreting it however they wanted, and then just making like their own little group, little denomination. They make a name for themselves, kind of like at the Tower of Babel. At the Tower of Babel, there was Noah's son, and Noah had a son named Shem, and he blessed Shem. And Shem means name or nominated, basically. But he was like named and nominated. And then these people, they made names for themselves and built their own buildings and stuff. But then there's confusion as to what, the meaning of the words was. Like people think it was like the invention of languages, but it wasn't. It was like the meaning of words, because like the word, like I have like this Bible commentary, and it says the lip or utterance of the words was the thing that was like confused. It wasn't like different languages, because in Genesis they had all of their different languages before the Tower of Babel story, and it's in chronological order. But if we go back to the history, we have Protestantism, and over the centuries they keep splitting, and whenever they split, they become less Catholic. They're like, oh, you're too Catholic, so then they become less and less. But there's a certain point at which you can be against only so much, but that's what happened with like Freemasonry and stuff. Like they believe that like you can worship any god's good enough, but like in reality, when you do that, they really don't believe in God at all. Like when you say any god's good enough, it means that you basically don't believe in any God at all. And that's sort of where atheism come from, and socialism. Like if you look up the French Revolution, in the French Revolution, they took over the government. Like the Freemasons took over the government, and like they were like socialists and atheists, And I think all it is it's just like a branch of Protestantism that just they protested so much that they just become atheist. And they have their own little moral system, but it's a human moral system. They see everything from a worldly point of view, and they're so far off from, Catholic teachings and Jesus Christ and all the sacraments that, they're just like way out there, and they think that it's all about just, the thing that caused all of humanity to fall with Adam and Eve to begin with is what they think is the truth. And they're falling for the same thing that like Adam and Eve fell for, but it's a rejection of God basically. And then like they kind of broke off. Like I know that like with communism, like Marx, he was against the Catholic Church teachings, and he realized the Catholic Church was like in control, and he just hated that. So like a lot of their beliefs, like a lot of communist and socialist beliefs, they're to attack Catholic beliefs. Like the communists are the first ones that came up with abortion, and made it legal over with the Bolshevik Revolution, like over in Russia. It was over in Russia with the communists that they actually created, abortion, or, legalized abortion, because like they were against like, life, and communism and socialism is against the family, because like that's like one of the main sacraments, marriage. And then again, like marriage, what communists and socialists do is they try to promote LGBT stuff, homosexuality and all that, because that goes against the Catholic teachings. And like if you go through all the socialist teachings, all it is just a bunch of protest against Catholic teachings. They're doing the opposite because they want to break down the structure of the church, and they realize the only way they can do it is to like break down the entire society that the Catholic Church had built.